The new social media law that Governor Ron DeSantis signed this week cracks down on what the governor calls censorship by the big tech companies like Facebook and Twitter.
And days later, two associations repping those companies filed a federal lawsuit challenging that law as a violation of free speech. Carl Szabo is the vice president of NetChoice, one of the two industry groups that filed suit. He is with us right there live from Washington, D.C. Carl, it's great to see you.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad you're with us. Give us the theory, the legal theory in your lawsuit. Why is this Florida law unconstitutional?
You know, it's pretty clear once you stop and think about it. The First Amendment was designed to protect all of us, whether individual citizens, businesses, anyone, from government overreach and government compelled speech. Essentially, the government can't come into your newsroom, into the Miami Herald, and tell them what to say, what to print, tell you what to say, what to print. Likewise, the same holds true for the online industry. The government cannot come in and tell us what to say and what to host. And that's exactly what you're seeing here, is a government-compelled speech issue which runs directly counter not only to the text of the First Amendment, but the intent of the First Amendment. And that's a pretty clear-cut suit.
Okay, so Carl, what's so interesting and quasi-ironic is that in covering this particular bill signing this week, Governor DeSantis almost had the very same argument as you had, that this is a free speech issue, right, and that the social media has become the public square, and that they feel that conservative viewpoints aren't getting the opportunity to have that kind of free speech because of what they consider overreach and the power of big tech companies. So does it go both ways?
Well, the thing is, the First Amendment was designed to prevent the federal government, state government, or even local government from coming in and telling us how to conduct our business and what type of content we have to host. So here's an example. If somebody were on the bus, which is much closer to a public square or public area than any private business, if I went on the bus in Miami and started screaming and wearing inappropriate clothing, the bus driver would ask me to leave. What you're seeing here when it comes to the online environment is if people are violating the community guidelines, community standards of these private businesses, they're being asked to leave. And that's basically the right, and that's protected by our First Amendment.
And yet what we see so much on social media, and I just want to be really clear, I'm not advocating either way, I'm just challenging narrative. Okay, so what we see on social media, regardless of law, no law, lawsuit, no lawsuit, we see a lot of hate, a lot of venom, a lot of disinformation, and we see the social media companies attempting to crack down on things like that with standards that they put out there. Is it applied equally by those companies? And if not, doesn't that sort of give credence to government wanting to do something about it?
You know, when we oftentimes see actions taken to remove people we know, we only hear it from, well, people we know. And what we're not hearing is content being removed from people we don't know. Most all of the content being removed is being caught by bots and is being taken down before people ever see it. This is stuff like foreign government interference, pornography, child pornography, racist content. And all that is being caught and taken down because it violates community guidelines before it's even seen. Now, the question is it being applied fairly? Well, that's really hard to prove, because if you're only talking to people in one circle, you're only going to hear from people in one circle. But what I can tell you is if any platform, whether online or offline, puts up promises and then violates those promises, we don't need a new law to take action. The state AG can take an action today for a deceptive trade practice. So what you're seeing here is something that not only is bad policy, because it would result in more offensive content, more pornography, more hate speech, more foreign interference, but at the same time, you're seeing something that violates the First Amendment. And whether it is a legal or policy issue, this is a bad approach.
Yeah, well, we know, and I'm not a lawyer, shouldn't be citing cases, but in 1974, the Supreme Court in the Tornillo decision, which was the Miami Herald, refused to allow a union teacher leader, Pat Tornillo, whom I knew very well, from publishing something he demanded that they publish. And the Supreme Court said, you cannot force a newspaper or any institution to violate their free speech, that they have their right to it. That sort of seems to be a principle at stake here, too.
Exactly. And we actually cite Tornillo in our complaint. And the thing that we need to recognize is, when we talk about authoritarian entities and authoritarian countries, oftentimes what you see is a direct connection between the government and the media, where you see government and state-run media. One of the great ironies in this law is it would actually force online platforms to host foreign state-run media like Al Jazeera, like RN, like state-run media from North Korea or Russia. And it would have to be treated exactly the same as the Miami Herald. Now, a lot of platforms out there are trying to stop foreign influence, trying to stop misinformation. And this actually just makes it harder.
We have about a half a minute left. I just wanted to ask you something very practical. There in this law, there is a carve-out for theme parks that have platforms online. Is it Disney? So that carve-out sort of violates the equal standard application right off the bat? I mean, wouldn't that kind of be a point set match in a lawsuit like yours?
I mean, it's points at match on the First Amendment alone, but that carve out, and I don't have to speculate its purpose, the sponsor of the amendment said it on the floor, it's to carve out Disney. But that just makes our lawsuit even stronger. So we expect a quick injunction of the law, well, Carl, and it will be struck down by the courts.
On that note, we are going to have to finish. Carl Szabo, thanks for joining us.
So much.
Really appreciate it.